Hey guys, Jay Hoyt here. Before we get into today's video, we've been telling you guys at the start of every single one of these videos that the majority of you guys that watch our channel are not subscribed. So make sure to go down below, hit the subscribe button, and help out the channel. What's going on, guys? Jay Hoyt back with you. Today, welcome back to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. We're back here on Skid Row playing some rank play on Hardpoint. We love this map. Usually we do pretty well at it, but last night we were playing games, of course, with Ben, enjoying a good night of some games with the boys. And we were in a lobby with a couple of guys, and he was talking about the maps and how that every map he seems to get anymore is either like terminal or high rise, or all of the maps that are just not very good. And it made me really wonder, how many good maps are even in this game. So I have Call of Duty hooked up on my other monitor here, but you guys are going to be watching the COD gameplay because you don't really want to watch me scroll through all of the maps. But it made me wonder, right? So we have 28 maps currently in the game. So I kind of wanted to start with ranked play specifically because that is what I play the most. Because public match in this game, no. Just, we're not even doing that. But let's talk about it. So in Hardpoint alone, again, just in ranked play, we have 5 maps. 5 out of 28 maps are viable for Hardpoint, or at least somewhat viable for Hardpoint that, people have seen. Maybe there's a couple other ones that can be thrown in there. Some of the newer maps, maybe. But right now we have 5 maps, being Rio, which is the newest one added to the rotation. You have Invasion, which Invasion's very big and open. I guess we'll get to our kind of full thoughts in a second. But then we have Karachi. We have Skid Row, which arguably is my favorite map in the game. And then you have Subbase. Okay, decent little mix there. Then we go over to Search and Destroy. We have Rio again, High Rise, Invasion, Karachi, and Terminal. Which, again, 5 maps. And 2 of those maps we don't play for any other game mode, High Rise, and we do play High Rise Control. But Terminal we don't play for anything other than S&D, and arguably should not be in the rotation. And then Control, we have 3 maps, being High Rise, Invasion, and Karachi. So out of that entire thing, we don't have very many maps, right? Karachi, Invasion, Skid Row, Subbase, what am I forgetting here? Terminal, High Rise, and Rio. Is that 8? 8 total maps? So 8 out of 28. So we don't even have half of the maps that are viable for competitive play. Not even half. So when we look at these maps, we go through them again, looking over here, but you guys are watching the good gameplay in the background. We have Afghan, which is terrible in my opinion. These obviously are all my opinion. But there's not a lot to this map. There's basically a crash plane in the entirety of the middle of the map. There's like 2 buildings, and that's about it, right? That is not much. And there's a cave. But other than that, that map there's nothing else. It's just dirt and open space. So not a good map at all. Alley, I've actually never even heard of or played, so I don't think I've played that map at all. So I'll have to go, try that out in private match. Same thing with Black Site. Not exactly sure what that is. Okay, so I am mixing these up. So Afghan is a multiplayer map. Some of these are not fully multiplayer maps. They're just gunfight maps, which, again, why we have the same things, I don't know. Same thing with Black Site. That is a gunfight map. Das House is a a multiplayer map, but it's one of those small, kind of like Shipment, where it's definitely not a competitive map by any means. Just kind of a run and gun, high action. People love their shotguns and riot shields on that map, but you're definitely not going to play that. Departures is a map I have not played yet because it did come out in Season 2, and I don't really play pubs, so that's a map I have not played. So again, could be viable, but probably not. Derail has been in since the beginning, but again, just not good. Estate, same thing as Afghan. There's not much to that map. It's a lot of open space. Almost seems like part of a campaign rather than a multiplayer map. Exhibit is a gunfight map as well. Then you have Favela, which I have played and it is not good at all. Greece is one of those interesting maps where it seemed to play okay for Hardpoint. That's all I really played on there. Maybe Control could be played on there as well, but I'm not really sure if the pros have tested it out enough. I think they did. Maybe they did. I don't really know, but it could be, you know, a map that gets thrown in there. High Rise, I know people feel the nostalgia of this map more than others, but realistically, it does not play well, given the new kind of style of play. And the amount of just things that explode on this map is just too many. So remove all the explosives randomly around the map. Maybe if it gets a little bit better, but still, it just doesn't fit with this theme of the game nowadays. Invasion, we kind of mentioned this before, but big, wide open, you know, part of it, and then everything else is buildings, right? It's just a million buildings, and it's just not great to play. I'm gonna be honest. I know some people like it, but for the most part, it just doesn't play well. Then we have Karachi, which has its moments, but also the elevation changes. And what I mean by that is there's kind of 3 different levels of play. And not that I think every map should be 100% flat with very few, you know, higher angle gunfights, but when you can jump off a top third of a building and it barely hurts you and you're not completely one-shot when you jump off of it, and you could just do that no problem without getting punished at all for it, and having to check 7 million different spots for people to be, just not great to play. So not really a huge fan, but we do have worse in the game. The map Meat, which is again one of those super small maps like Shipment, run and gun, fast pace, lots of gunfights, and if that's your thing, go nuts. Then we have Quarry, a really wide open map as well, that it just, there's too many different things on that map that just make it so it's not really a good map at all. Rio is a interesting map for sure. I would definitely prefer some spawn changes on that map and for most of these maps, because there's a lot of times where you go to push out a spawn and then they'll spawn behind you. So they spawn in between your teammate and you, they spawn in the middle, and you're like, well, how did they get behind me? They spawn there. So there's a lot of situations like that which kind of suck in the moment. But again, some spawn fixes and you might have a pretty decent map there. Rundown, I have not played much at all, but from the couple times I did play it, wasn't a huge fan of it. Rust, I know everybody loves Rust, the nostalgia of it for sure, but obviously not viable for competitive, not viable for even multiplayer, anything more than like a 3v3, 4v4, because we will love to camp on that map for sure. Scrapyard could have been an interesting map for competitive, and I know some people find that a little controversial, but given what we're working with, I don't think it would be that bad of a map. I could be wrong. I would like to see that played competitively 4v4. Obviously Shipment is what it is, you know, fast-paced, you know, that smaller map, run and gun, you know, love to, you know, get the action. That's the map for you. Skid Row, we've talked about, arguably my favorite map in the entire game, and it plays pretty well, but when you play Skid Row, you almost have to, instead of playing for the first hard point, or you send 1 or 2 people there at the most, but you're basically trying to hold the spawn for the second hill, the top warehouse, and you basically just have somebody camping there for the entirety of the first hard point. And I just hate how that plays, at least that rotation specifically, that it's so crucial to get that, like, if one team gets 60 seconds off the first hard point, you get 60 seconds off the second hard point, then you're basically at a tie game. And it's just like, that's just not just not how I like to play, you know, a map. But, you know, it is what it is. The next map, Stash House, again, is one of those small shipment type maps. Small run and gun, you know, not really viable for competitive at all. Sub-base doesn't really get played a lot. When it does, it's interesting to watch. Lots of hardpoint changes on that map. I think it was played for Search and Destroy for a little bit as well, but for the most part, just one of those, like, not great maps, but it's better than some of the other ones. Terminal, arguably the worst map in the competitive rotation right now. I can't really imagine many people like playing that map. I know the nostalgia is there. It used to be, you know, the king of maps, if you will. But as far as today's day and age, how today's players play, it just doesn't work, right? Obviously, the training facility is not a real map, but I guess if we're going to talk about it as a map, it's a cool run and gun, small pace, or fast paced, small map. I mean, cool, but again, not viable for competitive. Underpass, that map is terrible. Not really much to say about it. It's just awful. Vista, I know, was tested out for competitive. I think it might be coming after Stage 2 is done, but we'll wait and see, because at that point, the year is already half over, which is really stupid that we start so late and then end so early. It really sucks that it has to be that way. And then Wasteland is exactly what it sounds like. Not much to that map. So out of the 28 maps in the game, we have 8 in competitive. So I guess at the end of the day, what would the message be? What would kind of the fix be for this map, or for these maps, and fix for Call of Duty in general is kind of either two things, right? Make a map that is designed around competitive. So you, instead of doing what they do already and design them off of Team Deathmatch, Domination, and Search and Destroy, and instead of doing those 3 game modes, make it your 3 COD League game modes, right? Base it off Hardpoint, base it off Search and Destroy, base it off Control. Because there's a lot of maps in Call of Duty history that would be great hardpoint maps throughout COD, right? You have your raids, you have your standoffs, you have your slums, right? You could, I mean, one of my favorites is Fringe from Black Ops 3. Hasn't been brought back. Very simple, very easy map to play. So either bring back those good maps, redevelop them a little bit, change a couple things here and there, kind of cater it towards each game that you're producing, and then also make the design of the map for competitive. Some of these maps just have too many things on them, too many details that make playing the game very difficult. So I'm not sure what direction Call of Duty is headed, you know, whether they want to bring back some older maps or design completely new maps. But either way, we'd like to see some changes. We'd like to see some more maps added to the rotation. And instead of just giving us, you know, a couple maps here and there, give us some good maps. You know, a lot of us would appreciate it. Not only for ranked play, not only for the CDL, but for multiplayer in general. But with all that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, hit the like button down below. If you haven't yet, or if you're brand new here, make sure to subscribe. Help the channel out. And as always, guys, we'll see you in the next one.